Hi, I'm Tom Elliott on behalf of Hodges Real Estate with another financial market update. The Reserve Bank of Australia has decided to leave interest rates on hold for a number of reasons. First is that retail sales in Australia remain very, very weak. People simply aren't spending money in the shops at the moment, and you see that in the share prices of groups like Myer, David Jones, Westfield, of course. All of them are feeling the pinch. Secondly, the overseas economies, particularly the United States and Europe, remain quite weak. In particular, of course, we're seeing the debt problems that Greece has spilling over into other Eurozone economies. Thirdly, although the unemployment rate is low at 4.9%, and that is extremely low by historical standards, a lot of full-time jobs are being lost at the expense of part-time jobs. This suggests that employers are not willing to make the commitment that full-time employees require. As a result, the workforce is becoming increasingly casualised. Finally, and I think possibly most importantly, the share market is really weak at the moment. For the past 21 months, share prices in Australia have gone essentially sideways. There's plenty of fears out there about the global economy, and this is reflected in weak equity prices. Well, I think the Australian economy is probably showing mixed indicators. Some items are very weak. For example, retail sales, we know, very weak. The housing market, of course, has gone quite flat, and unemployment is stagnant at 4.9%. On the positive side, however, mineral demand out of China is still very strong. As a result, we are seeing developing what is being called in the popular media the two-speed economy. That is, the mining states of Western Australia and Queensland are doing quite strongly, while the other states in Australia are muddling along at best. This is why the commentary from the Reserve Bank is somewhat mixed. On one hand, rates are on hold. On the other hand, Glenn Stevens, the head of the Reserve Bank, keeps threatening to put them up again in the near future. Real estate's a difficult one to predict, but I'm quite positive about it. The reason is this. Recently I visited the United States, where the real estate market has been smashed very hard. In some parts of America, house prices have fallen more than 50%, and 25% price falls over the past couple of years are very much the norm. A lot of people are worried that the same thing is going to occur here in Australia. I don't think it will for a couple of reasons. First up, even if the Reserve Bank does lift interest rates, at most it will be by 0.5%, and more likely is just by 1/4%. That shouldn't be enough to derail buyers of either commercial or residential or industrial real estate. Secondly, it's important to remember that if people have jobs, they can afford to service mortgages. Even if they're part-time jobs, they've got an income coming in. The fact is, Australia is not building enough new houses to cope with population increases. Most people are working. As a result, the outlook for housing and property in general is stable to quite positive. The share market is actually extremely volatile at the moment. We've seen some quite big daily falls over the past few weeks. Now, a lot of the time in the past, the share market and property markets in Australia tend to go in opposite directions. For example, after the '87 stock market crash, property boomed for 2 years as people pulled money out of shares and put it into real estate. Of course, we do know that the real estate market around that time, '89 to 1990, then fell away quite sharply. At the moment, I think the share market, while volatile, is holding its ground. It's going sideways. Having said that, it's not seen as a particularly great place for people to put their money. As a result, my sense is that investors in property, as distinct, for example, from first home buyers, are increasingly looking at different classes of property as an alternative to the share market, and that can only be good for real estate prices. Well, it's always important not to consider real estate as one investment class. In reality, it's made up of quite a few subclasses. Firstly, let's look at residential real estate. In most states, the sub $1 million market is doing very well. And this is because with unemployment at the lows I mentioned earlier of 4.9%, most people can afford to service a mortgage, and of course $1 million is no longer as big as what it once was, especially given the price rises we've seen in residential real estate over the past 10 years. If, however, we go to the more premium end of the market, 2 to 2.5 million and beyond, we do see a fair bit of weakness. Now, the reason for this is that the financial industry, where a lot of the buyers of these sorts of properties come from, isn't paying the sorts of bonuses that such people have got used to in recent years. As a result, if bankers and stockbrokers and so forth aren't getting paid big bonuses, which they're not at the moment, they're not going to be sticking up their hands at auctions to buy very, very expensive trophy houses. So I don't expect right now to see much growth in the premium end of the residential market. Turning to commercial real estate, and for retail real estate, I think you've got to be very, very careful. Retail is going through a very, very soft patch at the moment. Some people are predicting the demise of the whole sector because of the internet and changed spending habits of Australians. Retailing is not going to disappear, but you have to make sure you have good tenants. If we look at office real estate, well, again, it depends on the city. Melbourne at the moment is seeing the docklands getting heavily built, but of course that means there's a lot of former buildings in the city that are currently lacking tenants. So again, one has to be selective. Turning to industrial real estate, well, I think in the areas of distribution and so forth, demand could be quite strong because a lot of the retailing that's disappearing to the internet means that, for example, logistics businesses are experiencing not a boom, but certainly strong growth in what they do. So it's a pretty good time overall for real estate, but you have to be careful to be in the right sectors. And when it comes to housing, below 1 million at the moment is definitely the place to be. Thanks for watching another Hodges Real Estate Financial Market Update. My name's Tom Elliott and I'll talk to you again very soon.